We got Otis Kirk on today here on Hogville.net. I am your new host, Jason Pattison, and I am extremely excited to be joining Otis and Dudley and Kevin. And I'm tickled pink, man. I can't say enough about how excited I am to be on Hogville. Otis, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Just working.
So let's get everything started off here real quick. And let's talk about that 2023 Razorbacks spring scrimmage that we were at last Saturday. What were your takeaways from that?
Well, I thought KJ's very good. Isaiah Satana's very good. They got pretty good receivers. Maybe not a proven one, but they've got good receivers. But the defensive lines, those is very good, especially those ends. Poopall's a stud. But overall, I thought it was a good one. I mean, I know when you look at 10 sacks, everybody's going to say the offensive line has issues. But I would have been. You're always going to have one side, or if you have no sacks, then you're going to say the defensive line is not good. I would have been more worried had the offensive line dominated the defensive line because they've got only got two returning starters. One of them's not even playing the same position on the offensive line he played last year, Jason. So I don't put much in. People got to understand when you say 10 sacks, not all those were against the first team offensive line, the guys that'll be playing this fall. So it's a little misleading, and it's going to be that way when you scrimmage yourself. You have an inter-squad game. One side's going to be happy, the other's not. I mean, where do you draw the line? So I think you just got to look at the big picture and think if one side was going to dominate, it should have been the defensive line because they've got 6 defensive ends that are legit SEC players.
You know, looking at the defense you were just mentioning just a few moments ago, you kind of almost want them to be a little bit ahead when they go into fall practice in August. And with KJ returning, do you see that possibly that the offense and the defense might be almost neck and neck whenever they enter in August?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on that development, the offensive line, development of the wide receivers, the development of the tight end. I mean, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of newness on that. I mean, you got a new offense. I know you got a new defense, but I think I just think it's. But I think once you put this team on the field September the 2nd against Western Carolina, I think you're going to see a very efficient offense, a very efficient defense. Jason, I'm not concerned with either side of the ball. I'm assuming, and look, they've got 3 openings on the offensive line to a certain extent. But it's not like they don't have people to play that talented people. They just don't have experienced, proven guys. Like they don't have a Ricky Stromberg. They don't have a Luke Jones or Dalton Wagner.
Mm-hmm. So when we were watching that spring game on Saturday, one of the things that really stood out to me, and you and I talked about a little bit too, is that you really feel comfortable with the number 2 quarterback going into the season. Oh. I really feel that with Jacoby Criswell and with Cade Fortin, they both had pretty good spring games, and you had those question marks last year, and I discussed that on another show of mine, that if KJ went down, there were some big question marks. I think that those question marks have been kind of erased.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jacoby Criswell's head and shoulders above anything they had back there last year behind KJ. I think Malachi Singleton was 4 for 4 Saturday. I mean, they're much deeper at quarterback, and but Criswell coming into the game is much different than, say, a Malik Hornsby. And that's not a shot at Hornsby. It's just, that's my opinion. And Criswell's a really good player, and he can give them a chance. Last year, when KJ went down, they basically had no chance. They were forced to stay in the LSU game as well as they did. They didn't stay in the Mississippi State game. But I think that Jacoby Criswell can really – he's not going to be as good as KJ when he gets in there. But you got to understand, too, Sam pointed this out afterward that Jacoby really hasn't played that much either. So, he's head of a freshman, but he still hasn't played that much. But, boy, when he does, you can really see. And I'm going to tell you, after spring break, that scrimmage right before spring break. Actually, the scrimmage right before spring break is when I noticed Jacoby and Malachi both really taking off, and I think Fortin's improved. He looks like I watched him Saturday. It looked like he was delivering the ball a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, just with more authority on Saturday than he did last year, Jason. But yeah, I'm not worried about quarterback. I mean, you obviously want to go into the season with KJ playing 13, 14 games, whatever they play. But if it doesn't, I feel better, much better, not better, but much better about it this year than I did last year.
I think that one of the biggest takeaways that we saw this year versus last year, I know that Marion Harris had a knee injury, and Sam said I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest takeaways was that you got everybody out of there healthy. They got the reps in, and everybody looked pretty good. KJ looked really good as far as the deep ball goes. Talk a little bit about how important it is for them to be able to get out of spring and hit those summer workouts at full strength.
Well, that's always important. And, Marion, hopefully we haven't heard other than what Sam said afterward, but hopefully Marion wasn't a serious knee injury because he showed what he can do when he stepped into the Liberty Bowl when Tykees went down first, right on the field goal attempt by the Cam Little on the first series, and Marion played the rest of the game. And then, but I feel really good about. Otherwise, Ty Washington limped off there at the end, but so I don't know what the update on him is. But for the most part, they're pretty healthy. And then the guys that were out, like Al Walcott and them, they're expecting them back this fall, this summer. And I think it's very important what they do this summer. I think a lot of the football team, the attitude, the mental toughness, all that will be made this summer. Those workouts they have in the summer are very important to the team. You don't want to report like, in the fall or right before the season and, be out of shape, and they won't be. And that's the good thing about this, allowing scholarship players stay the whole the whole summer and be on scholarship. Used to, they couldn't do that years ago, and it makes a difference. You don't have to worry about kids coming in and out of shape as bad as used to. And, they kind of sort themselves out in the summer. The kids that don't want to put in the work, volunteering and stuff, it shows when they report in August, and then therefore they'll get moved down the depth chart if there's anybody like that. I don't. This team doesn't seem like that. I think they're a bunch of hard workers over there, Jason. I haven't really seen guys that you think, man, they're slackers. I mean, maybe there is, but I'm not aware of it. Because there's not very many.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I do believe that this team is really latched onto with Sam Pittman, is that they have that workman mentality. I'm not saying that they did last year. I think that they may have some more vocal leaders in the locker room that they may not have had last year that can help guide this team to, I wouldn't say more victories, but to a point where it gets them in a better position in the fourth quarter with some of those vocal leaders that you may not have seen last year.
Yeah, I think I've noticed. I think the leadership's better. You've got some guys that are vocal. You got some guys that are quiet leaders too, more maybe by example than rah rah rah. But regardless, there's more than one way to lead. You don't have to always get in somebody's face and jump up and down and yell and holler. There's different ways of leading, and I think they've got various lead. Poopaw may lead one way. Tarian Carter maybe another. Zach Williams another. Yeah, I'm Shad Stewart another. Different people lead different ways, but I think they've got a lot of it. The kids that stayed with the program that didn't transfer out, I think they've really bought in and providing different kinds of leadership. I do think the leadership's a little bit better over there this year. I think, if nothing else, I think a few kids that maybe weren't completely bought in are gone, and the ones that stayed wanted to stay, and I think that always helps. I think you sometimes you improve by addition by subtraction, I guess. And I don't mean that bad. I'm not intending it towards any person, but just sometimes that's the case.
And I'll be honest with you, man. That's one of my favorite analogies to use because you're getting better by being able to be possibly your own, breaking away from the mold a little bit and being able to show your talent and showcase that a little bit more. So,
yeah, and I think the defensive coaches have got this bunch excited too. I think they like that 4-man front. They like that aggressive style of defense. Sometimes you can go stale, and it's not that Barry Odom and Kendall Briles were bad coaches. They weren't by any stretch of the imagination. Kendall will do well at TCU. Barry was a good head coach at Missouri and was a very good defensive coordinator before that. So they're good coaches, but sometimes you just grow a little stale. You get set in your ways. The players know what it is, and I don't know. I think change sometimes can be good. I think that this time it was. I think you bring in Dan. He brings in a new attitude, new offense on that side of the ball. Travis Williams, Marcus Woodson, Darren Wilson. Of course, Morgan Turner, tight end coach. It's not like the guys that left couldn't coach. They could. But I think, especially the coordinators, I just think sometimes you can get a little stale there. I think it's good to have a change on occasion. It stinks at the time because it costs you some recruits and this and that. But with that, when those recruits that were coming because of some coach doesn't come, the new coach finds somebody who will come. And so,
exactly.
It's a trade-off. And so therefore, I think it's good to have some change at the coordinators. I think this change was good. These changes, not that, like I said, I'm not saying Briles and Odom are bad. That's not what I'm saying. I just think sometimes change is good for everybody. I think maybe good for those. Well, I know it is for Barry. I mean, now he's a head coach.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jason, he wanted to be a head coach.
Yeah.
And for him to leave defensive coordinator job and become a head coach, definitely enough move for him. Briles, we'll see how that works. He's from Texas. He's back in Texas now. Maybe that was his thing. I don't know, but I am proud for Barry in the fact that I do know Barry wanted to be a head coach again. And he had a better record at Missouri than Drinkowitz has. So I don't know that he got a fair shot up there. I've always felt like Barry would get another job, and he did. And hopefully he takes it and runs with it. I like, he's got Michael out there. He's got James Shebest out there. He's got some good assistant coaches. So I hope they have a lot of success out at UNLV.
I was actually talking to Greg Thomas last week, and I had asked him about Coach Shebest going out to UNLV, and he said, "Man, I really thought that guy was about to retire too, but he's about a couple years away from it, so he hasn't quite got the itch off of him yet. But I think he's starting to round that corner. But I was glad to see that Coach Shebest got out there too."
Yeah, no, he wasn't going to retire because he was out of practice last spring here, and he was staying with Barry for 3 days up here during spring ball, and if Dow Loggins had taken the Kentucky offensive coordinator job at that time, then James was going to be the tight end coach at Arkansas. So it was was going to try to get the tight end job. Barry was pushing for that, and so that and it turned out Dow didn't take the Kentucky job, stayed, and then he went to South Carolina. But no, I mean, yeah, he was staying. He was at the practice. I talked to him. James is a pretty good friend of mine, and so I know him well, but yeah, he's not ready to get out of coaching at all. Actually, he was living in Hot Springs. I don't know this move to Vegas, what that did, but I do know when I talked to him at spring ball, he was living in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Gotcha. Well, as we were talking just a few minutes ago about kind of things changing and evolving, let's talk a little bit about the latest in Razorback recruiting. What have you got so far?
Well, going to be a big day tomorrow. You got Charlie Collins from Mills, Courtney Crutchfield from Pine Bluff, Jaden Allen from Aledo, Texas, all going to make commitments tomorrow to certain schools. And Arkansas is in the finals for all three. And if I had to make a bet today, if Jason said put down $1,000, it'd be his money because I don't have $1,000. But if he said put down somebody else's money, man, I can do that. But no, I'd throw down on Arkansas. I mean, on all three of them. So we'll see. I mean, None of the three have told me they're coming, but yeah, I feel pretty good about all three of those kids coming to Arkansas. And if that happens, that's 3 4-stars, and that's a great day for Sam Pittman and the Hogs. And Collins is as good as any defensive lineman out there in the country. Crutchfield is not only a great football player, but was the MVP of the Class 5A state basketball championship. Pine Bluff won. He was the MVP. He high jumped 6'5" at a track meet the other day without a lick of training. He's also a good baseball player. So, I mean, this kid does it all. And then Jaden started as a freshman for a state championship team in Texas. So that tells you all you need to know about him. They don't start freshmen in Texas. And when they do on a state championship team, got to be a stud. And so that tells you about you need to know about those three kids. And Crutchfield and Collins were teammates till this past year when Collins transferred to Mills, and because he was at Pine Bluff prior to that. But they're all good ball players. They've all been up here numerous times. All three of those kids were at the spring scrimmage last Saturday, Jason. I saw Courtney and Charlie about on one of those Tuesdays before that, maybe a week or two, either that week or the previous week. I don't remember which one it was. On a Tuesday, they were at practice as well as the spring game.
Oh, man. I got a quick comment in here, Otis, and a question. It says, Wes from 4-Star Sports asks, what do you see the secondary doing this season? The injury bug bit them pretty hard in 22.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're going to start at corner with Dwight McLaughlin and Quincy McAdoo. And then you got Hud Clark out there at safety. Al Walcott will probably be your nickel, but or could play safety. But right now they got him targeting there. But I think what you're going to see, Singletary come in when school ends here and comes in late May, early January. Snacks Johnson and some of those kids are, they're going to look at some of those kids at safety, at some of those corners, backup corners. And also, they're still trying to sign 2 safeties, nickelback safety types out of the portal. So I think that's what you'll see, Jason. You'll see, I think the cornerbacks will be McAdoo and McLaughlin. Mm-hmm. And I think Snacks is probably too good to sit on the bench. I think he'll probably move down. You had Jaden Johnson's back there. But, yeah, they got hit with the injury. But it's too bad Walcott couldn't get out there this spring because he was actually – everybody raved about Walcott. But, about Snacks. Walcott was the prize of that class, of those 2 kids. And he didn't even get on the field this spring, hurt. But by all accounts, he's supposed to be back. And so looking good in that regard. But we'll see how it works out. But I think the secondary – it's got to be better, man. It's got to be. I mean, it wasn't very good last year.
I'm back on now. Hey,
let there be Jason. No, it's got to be better, man. It's got to be. I mean, I think Marcus Woodson and Darren Wilson, really Barry's specialty was linebackers. He coached the secondary and not, I think, well, McAdoo is going to be there the whole year. That'll help right there. Then you've got McLaughlin just got another year in his system. Mm-hmm. Hudson Clark at safety, Jaden Johnson back there, Malik Chavis. And then, like I said, I think you'll see some of the TJ Metcalf had a play in the scrimmage. I think what you'll see, though, you'll see Snacks, Jaheim Singletary, these 2 new kids they signed. Some of those kids competing at safety, too. I think what their goal is going to be no different than the offensive line or anything else. It's going to to get the 5 best players on the field at the same time, Jason. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to find the 2 best cornerbacks. I told you I think they are, and then the 2 best safeties and the best nickel, and try to get 5 best defensive backs. And if that means 3 or 4 corners, that may mean 3 or 4 kids they recruited to play cornerback. But Snacks said in an interview we did with him, he didn't say much, but one thing he did say, I'm a positionless player. I'm not necessarily just a corner. I can play, but he played some nickels. So I think you'll see that. I think Singletary, it doesn't mean that if they put Singletary back there this year, that he wouldn't move back to corner after McLaughlin left for the NFL. That doesn't mean he's going to be a safety the rest of his career, but I could see them doing it. And they may not need to do that because they got to have more than 2. Because kids are going to get beat up. They're going to need reserves, depth. I love Jalen Braxton. That's a cornerback I love. Yeah. Dallas Young had some good plays in the spring. So they've got some players, Jason. And I think it's going to be key is getting these two more kids in here. And then I think the secondary, once Walcott gets back, will take some shape. And yes, they did have a lot of injuries. It's unfortunate, but it's better to have them in the spring than it is in the fall. It's
Most
just a lot
definitely.
better, man. I mean, if you're going to have injuries, Walcott, the good thing about Walcott, it's not like he was one of the incoming freshmen. This is a kid who's played a lot of football at Baylor. So therefore, he missed the spring, but he still got a lot of experience, you know. So it's not like you had a freshman that needed the reps. He'll catch up pretty quick this summer.
I think another name to throw out there that I think Arkansas Razorback fans are going to be very quick to get to know is Antonio Greer. He was the guy that got that interception off that tip, and then had Isaiah Satania chase him down about 75 yards downfield. I think
Bishop
that
got
he's
the
a
interception.
pardon.
Bishop got the interception. Greer
Oh,
got
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
Bishop
right.
got the interception. Yeah, but yeah, Greer did get the tip that led to the interception.
And I think that we're going to definitely see. I'm not going to say that Antonio Greer can come in and fill the shoes of what Drew Sanders did, but I think that he has the best chance to possibly get close to that.
Well, I think between Pooh Paul, Antonio Greer, and Jordan Crook, I think you've got three linebackers. You know, they had three last year. You have Poole, Sanders, and Paul. And I think that gives you three right there that, I mean, who knows if they're as good as Sanders, Poole were, but they're good. And then you throw in a Carson Dean and you know, the kid from Fayetteville. So, you know, you just
Manny Powell.
Manny Powell, yeah. I mean, you throw Manny in there. So, I mean, that's not even counting Alex Sanford, you know, and the other linebackers. They've got, you know, Kate Henley, and, you know, they've got kids that played. So, but I think they'll be okay there. But Greer's a player. And I'll tell you what, when he came in the interview room this spring and interviewed, really impressed me. He made a point that he's not coming in trying to take somebody's place. He's wanting to fit in on the team. So if he rotates, you know, hey, if they start Pooh Paul is going to start. Blah, blah, blah. Pooh Paul is going to start. That's a tongue twister. But Jordan Crook and him, I think, will play a lot of ball at Greer. And I don't know that it matters with Greer who starts. I think he's just happy to be here and get a chance to play. And he definitely will help. But he's a good ball player. He doesn't need to be matched up one-on-one with Isaiah, because that's not a winning formula, man. And look, there's not a line. I don't know if there's a linebacker in college football that can cover Isaiah one-on-one deep. I don't know. If there is, he's a stud.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, so going towards the end of this interview, and more or less the show, we're going to come up with some names and kind of throw it out there and stuff, and we're just going to kind of see what sticks and see how the the folks out there and YouTube verse kind of see how they kind of like it. But one of the things that I like to do is called buy or sell, and you just tell me if this is something that you think is going to happen, buy it. If you don't think it's going to happen, sell it, and we're just going to start right off. Okay. So first off, KJ Jefferson will have a better season than 2022. Buy or sell?
Buy.
So with that buy, what do you see that he could accelerate and get a little bit better in a Dan Eno system versus a Kendall Browse system?
Well, I think one thing, just stay healthy. Don't miss 2 games. He stayed healthy the season before, and you saw what kind of season he had. I just think another year of experience. I like the receivers. He may not have a Traylon Burks or even a Jaden Hazelwood. He's got guys, a lot of guys he can spread the ball around to.
I think we lost Otis there for just a second. We're going to wait for him to pop back on into the feed here and buy or sell with KJ Jefferson having a better 2022. I do believe, and I think along the same lines as what Otis was talking about, in that we got Otis back here.
Yeah.
Hey there. That's okay.
I don't know where it cut off. It just went blank. It said oops or error or something. But no, just stay healthy. And I don't know what you have to have a go-to receiver. I mean, I don't think there's a Traylon Burks out there. I don't know if there's a Jaden Hazelwood, but he's got a lot of receivers he can spread the ball around to, Jason. I like that.
You know, and I noticed too that not one receiver, but there was 4 or 5 receivers, and it didn't matter if the ball was a little off target.
Yeah.
Those guys were getting their hands on the ball, and they were gripping it. And
He's got a bunch of guys he can throw to, and to me, they can't double up on like a Traylon Burks they could because they knew that was the man. I mean, Mike Woods was good, but if you got 5 or 6 guys, even if they're equal or somewhat equal, I don't see that as a negative. Some people feel like you have to have that go-to receiver. I'm not one of those. I think you've got to have good receivers. I don't know that you have to have one go-to. I think KJ can pick out who he's confident to. I think Isaac is Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah. Tyrone Broden, we just didn't get to see enough of because of injuries, but Sam Mabake, I'm leaving somebody out. I know. Bryce Stevens and Jaden Wilson. I mean, there's guys. So I mean, that's 7 right there, and that's 7. I think if my math is right. And you got Davion Dozier coming in this summer, so they're going to have good receivers. I don't know that they will have the one go-to guy, and I know people make a big deal about that. I'm not one of them, Jason. I just don't think you have to have the go-to guy. I think you've got to have good receivers that can catch a football. And as you said, there was times that Isaac DeSlay and those guys made catches that weren't not necessarily from KJ, but from whoever threw it that weren't necessarily right on the mark. And they went up. Isaac was great at one-handed catches, man. I mean, Isaac was. Satana's got that speed. He's got more speed than they had last year. Maybe Matt Landers had that speed. I think Isaiah is just a different kind of speed. It's maybe the same, but a little bit different. He's smaller, shiftier. I think they. I tell you what I like. I like the lineup of Andrew Armstrong and Isaac, both of them 6'4", 6'5", and then put Satana in the slot and go back.
A huge mismatch.
That's the group I like. Now, I mean, Mabake, Bryce Stevens, Jaden Wilson, Broden, but I love. They ran a little bit of that first team with those 3, and I love that. I just think that's a good combination for them.
Well, my next question was can the wide receiver room have more catches in 2023 buy or sell? And I think we already kind of know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I mean, buy, but I don't know that anybody will catch 59 passes like Hazelwood did. I don't. I think you might see it spread around a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's pretty tough there. I don't know if they'll have more. But man, you got 3 stud running backs too. You've got Rocket, AJ Green, Rashad Dominion, and you've got the kid from Florida coming in. And then if Dominic Johnson gets healthy, but I mean, I think they've got a chance to. I'd say buy and a little hesitant, but yeah, I think they've got a chance to.
All right, and the last one I got for us is: can the defensive secondary be better than last year?
Buy it, because it has no choice but be better, because that was pathetic. I mean, I'm serious. That was bad. That was some bad football in the secondary last year. Well, look, when a kid can play wide receiver, a true freshman play wide receiver for half the year, then move over and become maybe your best defensive back, that speaks volumes. And I don't know what he was their best, but he was a very good one. And that should not happen, and it did. But with McAdoo being there from day one will make it a better secondary. I think getting Walcott, McLaughlin getting a year under his belt, Hudson Clark playing safety and not corner. So I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism in the secondary. Will it be great? I'm not saying that, but will it be better? Yeah, a lot better. I think not only will it be better, I think it'll be a lot better than it was last year, and it needs to be. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It needs to be a lot better, not just better. It needs to be a lot better. And I think, honestly, and people may take this the wrong way, but I think Marcus Woodson and Darren Wilson are true defensive back coaches. I think the kids will get better coaching than they got. That's my opinion. I feel like Barry's expertise was linebacker. Yep. He knows defensive backs, but I think Woodson and Wilson can get it across a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that when you have an entire spring and a summer with the knowledge that both of those coaches bring to the table, you can't get but better, honestly, because they bring a wealth of knowledge to the table that is a positional coach, but with a defensive coordinator title on it. And I think that's where you're going to really see some gains too. So, Otis, just to get you out of here really quick, who are the what was the dog today that the Mutts beat up?
Some poodle on TV, big poodle, man. It was a big poodle, and they saved the world, man. The poodle is gone. They even searched the house to make sure he wasn't here. And
Nice.
bear, TV poodles, TV bears, they beat them all up, man. They protecting the world, man, saving the world.
Hey man,
Thank God they're sleeping and not what. There's no dog on TV or bear or cat on TV right now where they're fighting if they're all piled up asleep, because it would have been no way to have this show when that was going on for 45 minutes. I had a headache after listening to that.
I understand. I got a beagle too, man. And if he gets on one, it's over with. There's nothing but just deafening howling around this house.
They were just raising Cain, and it was a mess. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It was noisy. Bulldog just shakes the house when he barks. The Shih Tzu's not so bad, but the Bulldog, when he barks, he's big now. He's probably 80 pounds. I don't know. I don't know what he weighs, but he's huge, and he may be more than that. I don't know how much he weighs, but he's huge, and he when he barks, he shakes the house.
Man, you must be. That's gonna be probably one of the safest streets that you live on, because if you got all those guys running around, I wouldn't even want to come near there if that's the case. Well, Otis, I appreciate it coming on with me, and I can't wait to do this more and more with you guys. And we'll, like I said, what's kind of a working title, and we'll just keep updating and keep pressing on. And thank you for joining me today.
Well, thanks. Hey, I'm glad to have you on board, man. I mean, I'm super glad to have you on board. Not just glad, but super glad. And I know you'll do a great job. And I'm anxious for the whole thing to work with you. And I know Dudley will be too, and Drake and those guys. So, yeah. So appreciate you, man. And we'll talk to you the next time I see you.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody from Jason Patterson and from Otis Kirk, I want to say thank you. And this is the new launch of the YouTube channel for hogville.net. Thank you.
See you, man.